Okay, on this video I'm going to show you how I regassed the air conditioning system on a 2013 Nissan Juke. So under the bonnet, identify the input lines, both the low side and the high side. Right, the first step is to put the valves onto the high and low pressure ports from your gauges, your aircon gauges. Now these valves have a Schrader point inside them, and they're a pull on pull off fit like a ball joint, and the Schrader needle has to be completely out. So on the top of the valve knob you'll have a open and close, and you wind it all the way anti-clockwise to the closed position, and you'll see the needle inside moves away from the valve because that needle will push the Schrader open inside the port. Now putting these on, you lift the bayonet connector upwards, and it pops over like a sort of a cam lock and drops on. When it drops on, you feel it's quite positive, and the spring on the cam drops into place. You know when you're on, you can rotate it left and right and pull it and it won't come off. So it rotate freely left and right, but you pull and it's secure, and you know you're on. Once you're happy you've got those, you can then ensure that the valves on your manifold are closed. That's very important. Get them closed nice and firm, and then you can open up the valves. You turn clockwise all the way down, and the valve will push the Schrader pin and open the lines of the aircon to your manifold block. Now I'd already done this, and in preparation I'd lost or got the gas evacuated, so you can see the gauges are at pretty well zero. Next thing is to connect your yellow line to your vac pump. I'm assuming if you've got to this you know all the tools you need. So get your vac pump, make sure it's full of oil, up to the max line, and then activate your vac pump. Once that pump's going, open your low pressure and then your high pressure. And you'll hear the pump change note as it starts to pull a vacuum. And on the gauges you'll see you'll go below the 0 psi, start heading into the negative range, and that will pull down. Takes about a minute or two to get down to the 30, minus 30, the max, the optimum vacuum that you need. Once you've got there and you're happy that all your lines are secure and tight, just let that run for about 30 minutes to pull all the moisture out of the lines. Once that's done, you can close off the valves and shut off the pump. And this is now when you see if the system holds pressure. Whilst that is sitting there, I left it for about 15 minutes. It's time to use my gas. And the can I bought is a 500 gram can. That is, I need 460 for the car, so I know that will do. It has this type of valve on it. This is a pin pierce valve. The little pin inside is like a needle. The top of the can has a thin steel top, which you pierce with that pin. So you first need to undo the valve completely anti-clockwise to make sure the pin is nowhere near the face. Gloves on for this because this refrigerant is freezing. You'll get frostbite if it touches your hands. So safety, and I'm wearing safety goggles. You can't see that, but that's what I'm doing. So you screw this all the way down. There's a fibre washer in there. You don't have to go mad because the fibre washer is compressive and you can feel it. You can feel it coming. Once it's down, nice and tight, and you're happy with it, you then rotate the pin clockwise and you'll hear it hiss. And now that valve is pierced, body is charged, and now it works as a standard valve. So you disconnect your yellow line from your vac pump and connect it to your can now, in preparation for introducing the refrigerant to your air conditioning system. Make sure your line's tight. Then open up your valve on top of the bottle. Once that's ready, then you're working only on the low pressure side, the blue side, not the red side. Only the blue side. The yellow line has air in it between the pump and the manifold. So in order to evacuate that, now that the can of gas is on, I crack the line a bit and let a bit of refrigerant out. Then I know that that line is now full of refrigerant, there's no air. So effectively purging it. Now is the time to allow that refrigerant to go into the system. As I said, the system's under vacuum, there's pressure in the can, so it'll pull it in initially. You'll hear it go. Don't go mad opening that because you don't want to gush it in there, but you'll see my needles are starting to rise. We've gone above now, we're up 40, 50 psi as the vacuum pulls it in and the pressure of the can forces it in. You need to get above 50 psi to allow the car to recognise that there's enough refrigerant in the system to activate the compressor. You see there, under its own steam, we're up to about 60 psi now. That'll ease off eventually. I can open it a bit more now as we get comfortable. Now I secure the can because I need to start the car, so I've bunged the can just to a bonnet stay so that it doesn't fall whilst I now go and start the car up. Once I'm in the car, I'll fire it up and then I'll put the aircon on. Maximum cold, fan at about 3/4, switch it on recirc. You'll hear the compressor kick in. And now the compressor is pulling that refrigerant in. Gauges are doing what I'd like now. I'm seeing the pump is working, so the high pressure gauge is increasing. You'll see there it's about coming up to 150 psi. The low pressure is dropping. That's now down to, well, when we get a view, down to about 40. I'm slowly tilting the can just to move the liquid refrigerant around, and that I'm doing that slowly occasionally so it goes in a piece at a time. I don't want to surge it in, don't want to rush it in. I'm happy that the whole process takes about 10 minutes anyway, so there's no panic. But you can see when your refrigerant is going in because the sight glass, it burbles in the sight glass. Pressures are going up. It's just how I want it now. We're up to about 170 psi on the high side, about 30, 35 on the low. It's a warm day, so I'm happy that it's charged and the can is empty. Once I've got there, I'm up at the right pressures. It's time to remove the bayonets again, so wind the valves off first, then remove the cam locks, and that's job done. The gauge, by the way, was indicating the temperature was about 5 or 6 degrees, and the car is lovely and cold, and really quite simple, but you just have to be careful. And that's it. Once the hoses are removed, just put the caps back on your high and low ports, and you're good to go. Hope that helped. Thanks for watching. Cheers.